In June, Daniel and I finally went on our long-awaited European honeymoon to Paris and Greece, and I just felt so luxurious and lucky to be on this trip, so I wanted to pamper myself on the plane and do some face masks and eye masks. And when we got there, we actually were lucky enough to get into our hotel room early. We stayed at the Melia Paris Champs-Élysées, which was amazing. The location was prime. It was in walking distance to Trocadero Square, which is where you see the Eiffel Tower, and to the Arc de Triomphe, which starts the Champs-Élysées. So our first day, we stopped to see the Eiffel Tower, went to the Arc de Triomphe, and walked down the Champs-Élysées all the way down to the Place de la Concorde. And we stopped and saw the Alexander III Bridge, which is considered one of the most beautiful bridges, and it is going across the Seine, which is one of the most famous rivers in Paris. And we went to Place de la Concorde, which started the Tuileries Garden, which goes right into the Louvre. And we actually didn't go into the Louvre, but we wanted to see the garden anyways.
Nous sommes arrivés à Paris. We
are exhausted,
but having a wonderful time. It was raining when we got here, but it stopped. The humidity is wild, but that's okay. We're checking off a lot of the things off of our day one to do, but we're also just exploring and like seeing where we go. We just are ending up in the right place and walking. We're in the Jardin des Tuileries, I don't know. Walking to go see the Louvre. We're not gonna go in it, we're gonna see it. Yeah, it's just, I love Paris. I'm so excited. The one bad thing, well, two. Less than ideal, is that there's a ton of construction going on, so a lot of things aren't like as pretty, but that's okay. And also there's apparently a big horse race on the Champ de Mars, which is where I wanted to have my picnic in front of the Eiffel Tower tomorrow, my special dress. So fingers crossed that that can still happen, but regardless, we're having a wonderful time. How is it, honey?
How is what?
This!
Oh, it's great.
I love you.
Love you too.
Then we continued our exploration of the garden, and we got lost walking around all the streets. We walked along the Seine, and then we found ourselves going a few blocks away from the Seine, which is where you can find super cute little coffee shops, and just it felt a little bit more local. It was still in a very touristy area, obviously, but it felt a little bit more authentic, and we really enjoyed stopping just to get a coffee at this local cafe. That was one of our favorite parts. And then we passed by the Hotel des Invalides, and we saw a little bunny in the garden, which was our little bun saying hi to us. And then on our way back, we walked and stumbled upon this road that just had the most perfect view of the Eiffel Tower, and we stopped to get cheese and bread and a salad and just looked at the Eiffel Tower on our first day in Paris for dinner, and it was just absolute perfection. We felt just so lucky to be there. And then we walked through the Champ de Mars, which is the lawn in front of the Eiffel Tower, and just strolled our way across the bridge and back to our hotel room for the night. And then the next day we woke up, had a little photo shoot in the hotel with the iconic Parisian window, and we finally had my picnic in front of the Eiffel Tower. We got fresh croissants and just devoured them in front of the Eiffel Tower. We got up early, and there were few people doing photo shoots early in the morning, which was funny because that's what we were doing. And then we just walked around and went across to the base of the Eiffel Tower to take a Seine tour. This was a boat tour that I actually did when I went to Paris with my French class in high school, my AP French class, and so I loved it and we wanted to do it again. So it just goes down the Seine. You can see a lot of the really famous museums and beautiful buildings, and we got to see Notre Dame, which of course is under construction still after the fire, but it was cool to see that they were working on it and our had already restored a lot of it. And then we went a few streets away again from the Seine, and we happened upon this pizza shop, which we had a lunch at. And then on our way back, we actually happened upon this like antique market, which was pretty cool. We didn't get anything, but it was cool to see. And honestly, we got lost. We had vague directions of where we were going, but we just roamed the streets. And we ended up in the Luxembourg Garden, which we aren't actually intending to go to, but we just happened upon it. And it was really, really hot there, and so it was a bit tough to enjoy, only because we were right in the sun and Daniel was burning up, but it was still really cool to see. And then we strolled all the way to the Latin Quarter, and I really wanted to stop at those little green bookshop things, which are just iconic. And I found actually this Belle et la Bête book, which is Beauty and the Beast, which is so funny because I know Belle quite well. And then we walked on to Ile Saint-Louis to see Notre Dame. We ended up back at the Louvre, and then we ended up taking the subway because we just were too hot and too tired. So we went back to our hotel room to change and freshen up, and then we wandered to a very local seeming restaurant for dinner, which was the best meal we had in Paris.
We had another lovely day walking around exploring. Very tired, our feet hurt. Went back, showered, took a little nap. So many dogs here, which we are loving, but it makes us miss Porch. We just had a delicious dinner, and it was a place, I just gotta toot my own horn, it was a place that no one spoke English, and I nailed it. I've been really nailing my French, and for like not studying it for like 10 years, I'm killing it. Right, honey?
Very well. Very well done.
Merci. And now we have enough energy. Last night, also it's almost 10 o'clock and it still feels like day. Last night we did not make it outside when it was dark. But tonight we're gonna try and see the Eiffel Tower in the duck spuggle.
And we actually didn't end up staying up and going to see the Eiffel Tower at night because we got dessert and just went to bed. But the next morning we got up and went to our favorite cafe, which is right down the street from our hotel room. Got some croissant, of course, and then we headed to Montmartre. And this was honestly the worst part of our trip to Paris, but we saw Sacré-Cœur and the sinking house, and we made our way to La Maison Rose, which is very famous, but was a little lackluster for us, to be honest. And then we made our way to Café des Deux Moulins, which is the famous Amélie Cafe, and I grew up watching Amélie a lot with my dad, so it was really cool to see this in real life.
So we're in Montmartre. Started very rocky. The people outside of Sacré-Cœur were like extremely aggressive. They grabbed Daniel, would not let him go, to try to wrap a string around his hand, and they were following me like very close, and I was yelling at them to stop and they wouldn't. They tried to get him to give him money, and I said, no, take that off him right now and we're leaving. And they did finally, but it was like very scary and not a good way to start this. It's also so crowded and touristy here. So less dreamy than I remembered, but we're gonna see some things and hopefully make the best out of it and then leave.
Then we stopped by the iconic Moulin Rouge, which was fine, to be honest. It was a bit disappointing. We saw Le Chat Noir, which is also a famous place, and I got my gelato. And then we stopped for lunch, and on our way back after lunch, we happened upon the Galerie Lafayette, which is a really famous, beautiful mall. And we explored that a little bit, and we went on to the top, which is one of the reasons it's so famous, because it has a beautiful panoramic view of Paris. And then we passed by the Paris Opera House, and they actually had a Fragonard store next door, which was actually the perfume factory that I went to when I went to the south of France, and their Belle Cherie perfume I wore on my wedding. And then we took the metro again to our hotel room just to freshen up for an evening out to finally see the Eiffel Tower sparkle in the nighttime. And we went to a really touristy place for dinner, but I really wanted to have beef bourguignon, which is a famous French beef stew, which was honestly like not incredible because it was so touristy, but it was fine. I was just happy to have it. And then we sat by the Eiffel Tower for the rest of the night and watched it glitter and glow in the nighttime, and just really soaked in our time, our last night in Paris, and just thanked our lucky stars that we were there.
Alright, Danny boy. Ooh, it's our last night in Paris. What was your favorite part?
Of Paris?
Yeah.
I just walking the streets.
Yeah, getting lost. I think on our first day when we went, I think it was, I don't remember which side, but it was like if you're looking at Notre Dame, it was to the right. And like remember we like sat at the little cafe, and it was just so beautiful, just like the side streets that were quieter. Yeah. You excited for Greece?
Oh, absolutely. I've always wanted to go to Greece.
Yes.
Excited for the food.
Yeah.
I love
Happy
you.
we went here?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah. And now we're ending it sitting by Eiffel Tower to see a sparkle. Let's put it on good, huh?
Ouch.
So, also, I really like my nails. I think they turned out well. They're a little long, but they're cute. Right, Danny boy? Yeah. We are finally seeing the Eiffel Tower in the dark, lit up, hopefully. It hasn't sparkled yet, but it's definitely lit. It's lit. And honestly, it was just so silly. Sorry, hold on. One, I love the emergency sounds because it reminds me of Madeline, or Madeline, which I loved as a child. And second of all, being here is making me a little bit regret getting my Eiffel Tower tattoo removed, but the only reason is because it was so poorly done. It looked so gross and tacky, like a little stamp on my wrist. So, but I do love it. It's really special, and every time I saw it, I remarked, right, Daniel?
Absolutely.
I was like, oh, there's my tower. It's so special. I like it a lot. But the tattoo was just poor, so whatever. Also, there are a fair number of rats here, but for some reason I don't mind them because I think they're Remy trying to make me a delicious dinner. Also, they're not running in my apartment, so that helps. Also, I apologize for the difference in quality. My camera is broken, and there are only like maybe a few shots that I can get before it has a lens error, and I need to get it serviced, but I didn't have time to get it serviced before this trip. So alas, we are making two. Just for the important parts, I'm taking the camera, and for the rest, you get my iPhone 11. So I apologize for the oscillation of quality. Doing my best. Bummed that it's broken for this trip because I got the camera for this trip. But life happens, and you make do with what you got, you know? Okay, bye. The rats don't care.
I love you.
Happy honeymoon, honey.
Happy honeymoon.
And then we headed off to Greece the next morning.
And we'll see you in Greece.